faces too. This is the big test at the end of a conference. You know, do we still have our screens up? and you know, congratulations to everybody for you know, sticking it out.
All right, I think we're ready to get started.
Okay, thanks, Tamsin. I'm David Montaigne, so associate professor at the University of Calgary, a co-organizer, local co-organizer with Fabian Newhouse, and welcome to the closing. On our agenda today, we will hear from Dr. Phil. After I say a few remarks, we will hear from the hosts of the next two TCE conferences. And then we will have Gilbert Crowchild here for a closing prayer. So even though we missed him in the opening, he has managed to get here today to help us close out the conference in a ceremonial way. So I just wanted to say a few closing remarks of my own first. It was mentioned in the opening when our dean spoke, John Brown, that this is the 50th anniversary of the School of Architecture, Planning and Landscape at Calgary. So when we were founded 50 years ago, it was known as the Faculty of Environmental Design. And the very clear goal back in 1971 was actually an interdisciplinary faculty where people learned the professions of the built environment in an interdisciplinary milieu. And I think it's been very appropriate to have this conference as part of our 50th anniversary ceremonies, because the nature of a conference like the constructed environment is that we get exposed to such a wide range of expertise and approaches. So in the last 3 days, I've met and heard from sociologists, geographers, lawyers, and activists, in addition to, of course, the professional fields that produce the built environment, planners and architects and landscape architects and so on. So for me in particular, I found that after a year of sort of Zoom blinders, of teaching my own particular little niche in the field, it was a real breath of fresh air to kind of remind myself what all sort of different people are doing out there in these fields. So thank you all for that. As for hosting the conference, well, of course we had to go virtual, but Fabian and I hope that we've managed to give you a little bit of the flavor of Calgary and Alberta, in particular through the keynotes, but also, of course, we had a lot of our students and alumni and faculty members speak in the conference as well. But hopefully we've given you enough of a teaser that you'll want to come someday and actually see the city, that you'll want to pack your cowboy hat and your boots and come visit us for our great festival, the Stampede, which is really a big 10-day party and a lot of fun. And also to see the great urban design that Kelly Coles described in her keynote this morning, specifically on the Stampede grounds, but sort of in the neighborhood around it as well. Hopefully you'll want to come and see the downtown core that houses the administrative capital of Canadian oil and gas, as described by Elliot Treader on Wednesday. And hopefully you'll come and perhaps experience the First Nation ways of the land shared by Leroy Littlebear yesterday morning in his keynote, and also to visit the museums, cultural centers, and other developments on First Nations land around Calgary. So with that, we will proceed into the rest of the agenda. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Phil Calancis-Cope, who is the Chief Social Scientist of the Common Ground Research Network. Phil.
Thanks, David. Well, I'd like to begin by thanking David and Fabian, not only for their, intellectual guidance on, where themes, topics, plenary speakers, but also their pedagogical interventions on how we delivered this online conference. It was a brand new thing for all of us, and that we hope that we have built an infrastructure that was productive, that you got to share each other's work and engage. I've been, positively overwhelmed by how many of you were in those comment boards and discussion boards, and there was a really great atmosphere there. So I really want to thank you all as participants for being trailblazers, for experimenting, being patient, and engaging with each other in a really impactful way. So I would like to thank all the delegates that are here, and for those who watch this recording, all those that were online. Like David, I would like to thank all our keynote speakers. Now, one of the things that we really try and do is to give people a sense of place, and that's complicated when you're not in a place. But I really think that we did give a sense of the issues, the complexities, and the kinds of solutions or the ways that we have, that people of Calgary approach these kinds of complications in productive ways. So that was a really wonderful thing too. I'd like to thank my team, the Common Ground Research Network team, Tamsin and Elizabeth, and everyone else that you can that helps out throughout the research network, managing editors, support team, communications team. It takes a village to make these things work, and we have a pretty good village that I'm proud of. So that's great. The next group of people who I want to thank are our emerging scholars. Again, it's kind of round of applause. Yes, we can't, everyone can hear, everyone's giving a clap. One of the things that the Emerging Scholar Program is something that's really, central to what we are trying to do here, which is, give emerging voices a platform. And they have done a wonderful job. Please watch all their intro videos. They've done a great job in the commenting board and adapting to what being an emerging scholar awardee is in an online environment. We hope to see you in either Mexico or Hawaii. Please don't disappear on us. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to embarrassingly destroy every one of the emerging scholars names right now. I apologize in advance, but I will read them out. And if it's horrendously bad, feel free to unmute yourself and tell me how it's actually pronounced. And then you can pronounce my name at the end and see how we go. So the first emerging scholar that I'd like to thank is Douglas Williams from the University of Illinois. Douglas, want to give us a wave? Thank you, Douglas. We'll give you a round of applause. The second emerging scholar that I'd like to recognize is Nurim Desorki. Is Nurim here? If you want to give us a wave. Okay, thank you. Next is Lauren McQuiston from the University of Virginia. Lauren, are you here? No? Okay, we'll wave to you. The next emerging scholar is Shabad Shishigar. Is that close? From the University of Hawaii? Are they here? No? I'll keep going. Yes, they are. Thank you. That's great. Next is Matthew Keenman from the University of Kansas. Lauren March from the University of Toronto. Ashton Schlossler from the University of Freiburg. Hi. Fatima Jahan Sharana from the Law Commission of Bangladesh. Hello, thank you. Zhao Fang from the Hangzhou University of Science and Technology. And Nilindu Bala from the University of Calgary. Yes, thank you, thank you. And finally, Shruti Daindial from the University of Cambridge, if they're here. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Yes, so thank you for all of your participation and engagement, and we hope to see you in person going forward. Okay, so next we have this great pleasure. It is like, you know, from you know, going online, pivoting to then having a clear path for the next 2 years of where we're going physically, and we will be going physically to these places. I have the great pleasure of introducing not one but two hosts for upcoming conferences. So I'll begin with Rosaria Lopez Perez, who is here. And she's going to say a few words first about our upcoming conference. So
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you so much. I'm really happy to be here. It's like a big honor for us to be with you in this closure for this event. And if you may allow me, I have like a couple of slides that I would like to share so you can start figuring out what we want to offer to you for the 2021 event. So if just give me 1 second to put, I'm so excited to be thinking about the next year. So hopefully everything is all set for us to welcome you in Monterrey. So I will just take a few minutes because I know also it is kind of late in some places, so I don't want to take away your resting time for this Friday. So this is our house. This is El Centro Roberto Garzazada in Monterrey, Mexico, which is also offices, but it is like the gate of creation for us, where all of the careers from design, art, and architecture are like established, okay? So this is where we want you to be for next year. Just like a few data about Universidad de Monterrey, which hosts Centro Roberto Garzazada. We have more than 50 years being a university, and it is really focused on education from human perspective. And that is also what we reflect on the theme that we want to have for 2021, included all the subjects that at the beginning you were talking about. This is just a few numbers. I can share with you the slides to know the big panorama of how many people we have in our university. And we have a few less, obviously, in our schools of art, architecture, and design. But we like to share with all the different schools also what we are doing. You were talking at the beginning about having lawyers, having geographers, having architects, urban planners. So we would like also to share that experience for 2021. Well, so this is El Centro Roberto Garzazada, CRGS. The short name is, I know it's kind of difficult, but hopefully we will get used to the name, because we have like all the laboratories, we have the classroom for our students, we have many things that you will see, hopefully presential, online when you come to Monterrey, Mexico. And what we wanted to talk in 2021 is this, like, the design reset and the complexity of a new living environment, because we were talking back and forward with the committee that we are planning for this event, and we were all getting to the same point, that all that we have been living this past year and a couple of months, from the perspective of emotions, from the perspective of the technique, and the perspective of the new routines and the new life that we are now experimenting, we have to take like that moment and make like a reset. Not to erase everything that has been done in the past, and not to erase what we are living right now in our reality, but to have this reboot, to understand the new perspective, because we don't know what will happen in the future. We cannot like have it all set for the future, but we want to make this analysis and to rethink how we are making the things for the future. You know, like have this platform to analyze, to have a dialogue of how this new living environment will be for us. from also the perspective from maybe a psychologist, an architect, an industrial designer, because we know our dynamics will be different, are different right now. So we also want to know how we can manage to prepare for our, maybe it's our present time, but also our future, how we have to change some things or reset the dynamics that we have right now for our future, and that we can have like a normal community, a normal society, get away from this, maybe this scare of what the future will be, like have this flexibility in this more complex world that we are now living in different perspectives and from different views. And that is a little bit what we are planning for the next year, for our host house, that I say is our house, the Centro Roberto Garza, which is also my back in my profile. And well, we are waiting for you. Hopefully we wanted to have you here in Monterrey. We already missed this 2021 event at the beginning of the year, and we managed to do it online, the other event that we were together, but we have all set to hopefully have you here for the next year. And this is our social media if you want to get in to see whatever we are doing right now, and feel free also to share with us comments, ideas. What do you want to see when you come here? And if that is not possible, don't worry, because we will manage to make you feel the experience as you were here in Mexico. And the weather, hopefully for the time that we are planning, will be wonderful for you to have you with us. Okay? So that's a little bit of what we are going to do, hopefully for the next year with you.
Thank you so much. And there's no way we're not coming. I'm going to start walking right now just to make sure that we can get across the border. I live in the United States. I sound Australian, but I live in the United States. So.
we are like taking the time of the days that we can come back to the university. Hopefully we have like a little light for the next couple of months, so maybe we can start to come back like in a really paced way, but hopefully for the next year we can open the doors of, for me, Centro Roberto Garza is like, I told you, like a house for creativity. You will see there are architects, there are industrial designers, there are graphic designers. We have even fashion career inside the CRGS. So you will feel there is creativity on the stairs, on the classrooms, on the laboratories, but also the research that teachers or also directives, some of our students are doing with this like idea of a better future in this multidisciplinary environment. Is like, for me, is the best place to be. So I really hope that we can share with all of you from all different places when you can come with us. So
wonderful.
We're so excited.
Wonderful. We are too. We are too. Okay. And following up, in 2023, I'm losing track of dates now, we will be in Hawaii with Kevin Newt. Kevin, do you want to jump in?
I do. So first of all, Philip has been giving me some grief about my background, so I'm going to make it worse and prove that it's not a green screen and that I'm not wearing professionally acceptable clothing, but I am wearing pants. So you go, see, it's real. All right.
Kevin, no more of this. No more of this, please. No more.
I'm going to up the ante now. Now I know it's having an effect, right? Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I certainly don't want to. Next year is obviously the priority, and I was fascinated by Rosario's introduction, and I know that you got frustrated this year, so it's great that you actually get to do and to fulfill all the preparations that I know you did for this year. So I'm super pleased about that, and I will do my best to try to get there and encourage some of my colleagues to get there. It would probably be very good for me to understand how it all works in person. So that would be great. So I'm going to start swimming, as opposed to walking. So let me stop prattling on here and share my screen. It'll be very brief, but So 2 years is kind of a ridiculous amount of time to be thinking ahead. Who knows, where we'll be, but hopefully we'll be here. And the School of Architecture, I don't know if you can see my mouse, is right next to the May 17th to 19th. Now, those 2 dates I have yet to confirm, but it will be round about that time, which is between the end of our spring semester and the beginning of the summer. And we only have a few days of window. So, and it is a lot lighter than that, but if I made it the regular light, you wouldn't be able to see the text. So the theme is really a response to this document, the UN Environment Programme's Making Peace with Nature. And I'm not going to go through all of this, but you can see on the right, basically it's a message we're pretty familiar with, that that we're dependent on that stuff out there, and it's kind of dependent on what we do. So, and this is really about what we can do, intersecting with what Rosalia was talking about. What can we as designers and people interested in the environment in general? I was super interested in what was said. I've forgotten, forgive me, the name of the current co-host, but about schools of environmental design, because I studied in a school or did a degree in environmental design, and only recently I was at a school that decided to change their name to the School of Architecture and Environmental Design. And when I pointed out that that was a terrible false dichotomy, I just got ignored. So I'm really pleased that some of us believe that it's one environment, not architecture and environment, which is the wrong message to send. So one of our plenary speakers, I'm very pleased to say, is going to be Lisa Heshong, who'd be familiar to many people in the environmental psychology kind of building science area. And she's going to talk in general about the human benefits of contact with nature and buildings. Most of us, long before COVID hit, were spending 90% of our time indoors. God knows what it is now, 99 point something. I think I'm 101% indoors these days. But so this ought to be an education for many of us. So Lisa is well known in the building environmental psychology community, and she'll be coming here from University of Santa Cruz in California. Local speaker will be Sam Gon III, who is part native Hawaiian, a scientist, conservationist, and activist, and he'll be talking about the way that Hawaiians traditionally did the right thing, understood that they were living in balance with the natural environment, didn't take away more than they could give back. And that, of course, shockingly, only recently in the last 50 years, has been lost. So people like Sam are very active. So I think that would be instructive to most of us. I'm a Haole, I've only been here briefly. So understanding that it didn't always used to be, as one of my Australian friends rather ironically put it, when he looked at my background, I thought you'd gone to Hawaii, not Switzerland. Why does it look like Switzerland outside? Exactly, right? It shouldn't look like that. And then finally, I'm really pleased, and this was only confirmed in the last few days, that our other plenary speaker will be Ken Yang, architect and ecologist and planner, who's really was ahead of this game probably 30 years ago, if not more, right? And he has dedicated an entire career to doing precisely what we should have been doing for the last 30 years. So he has been nominated for the Pritzker Prize. In fact, I helped nominate him, not that he needed my help this year. And I think it's only a matter of time before he actually gets that award. Not that that really matters. It's what he's contributed in, not just polemically, but in terms of buildings, which is terribly hard to do. Getting clients and getting institutions to understand that there's more than one bottom line. Well, it's hard enough today. 30 some odd years ago, it was an incredible challenge. So really pleased, and hopefully that will be a good balance. And if that won't work, well, there's this. So the School of Architecture, as I said, is right down below. The great thing about Wahoo is you're no more than 10 or 15 minutes from the ocean anywhere. So between talks, you can get down there. So I won't torture you any longer with that, but I would very much like to see you all here in 2 years' time. Again, it's a long time ahead to think ahead, but we'll be, particularly Tamsin, I think, will be in touch with you, keep you informed about that. But hopefully by this time next year in Monterey, we'll have a much firmer idea of the plan. But please keep mid-May open. Nobody has a calendar that goes 2 years ahead, unfortunately, but try and keep that open if you can. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Kevin. Exciting times ahead. Okay, so next I'm going to hand the floor to Gilbert Crowchild for some closing remarks and a prayer.
Can I just briefly jump in, Phil?
Oh, yes,
Sorry.
please, yeah.
With maybe a few words as well, but Gilbert, are you still with us? Just checking the audio here in terms of technology. Awesome, very good. Thank you, Gilbert. I will give just a short introduction, and then I'll hand it over to you. So thank you so much, Rosora and Kevin. I'm really looking forward to the next two events. It's great. Thank you already for jumping on board and helping steer that with the next 2 years. It's going to be really exciting to build up to these events. It's great that we can look forward to this and start working early. We have really good crowd here, so and build on that will be exciting. To start off now with the closing, I would like to briefly revisit the territorial acknowledgement that we shared at the beginning of the conference on Wednesday morning. It was shared by John Brown, and we also discussed it this morning when there were questions around the involvement in Calgary of Indigenous nations and their role. I think that which sort of closes that loop. I think that would be important. Even though this is an online event, and obviously people, you're all joining us from around the world, I think this sort of can connect all of us to the land where we're currently situated on. So it would make sense. So I would like to take this opportunity again to acknowledge the traditional territories here in Calgary, in Canada, of the Treaty 7 region in southern Alberta. This includes the Tsuut'ina, the Stoney Nakoda, and the Chiniki, Bearspaw and Beasley First Nations, as well as the Blackfoot Confederacy. This includes the Kainai, the Piikani, and the Blood. The city of Calgary is also home to Métis Nation Region 3. In terms of the land, I think, especially for us here in Calgary, it's really important to acknowledge that Indigenous peoples have lived on these lands here in North America for thousands of years, and their intimate knowledge learned from the land is sort of a parallel narrative to the Anthropocene that was the or well still is the special theme of this year's conference, building that Anthropocene and that transformation of the built environment. So we've heard a little bit from the perspective from the Blackfoot yesterday, when Leroy Little Bear in his plenary session talked about it. But it's a really great pleasure to now have Gilbert Crowchild here as well for the closing of the conference. Gilbert is an elder from the Tsuut'ina First Nation here in the Treaty 7 region. The Tsuut'ina are a direct neighbor of Calgary, so they share a border. The Tsuut'ina land is a reserve here in Canada that was given to the Tsuut'ina Nation in about 1882, I believe, something like that. Gilbert, you correct me if I'm wrong. So 130 years ago, approximately. This relationship with the city of Calgary and the Tsuut'ina is a very colorful one. It is challenging, or especially in the past, it has been, but it also creates opportunities. So it's both, and both sides are really interested in fostering that relationship and moving forward in a good way. Interestingly, it also that the Cetina are currently really undertaking a massive development project on the boundary to the city of Calgary. That's in connection to a large-scale infrastructure project, the Calgary Ring Road, that goes through their territory, and part of the deal was that they can sort of activate the land there for development, which includes businesses, retail, even some residential. And this is the largest development project on First Nation land in all of North America. So it's a huge scale, and it's well underway. So last year summer, the first Costco in Canada has opened on First Nation land. It was quite a big milestone, and more shops will open pretty soon on the Tsuut'ina land. The nation is the Tsuut'ina Nation is part of the Dene people, and they share the same language group. And the Dene stretch really from all the way up north in Canada down south throughout the United States. So it's a really large language group, a large people that have sort of historical connections. And the Tsuut'ina have lived on these lands in Western Canada so much longer than the European settlers. So it'd be really interesting to hear your perspective, Gilbert. And with this, I will hand it over to you. But first, I would really also like to present you virtually for now, but physically also. Then later on, the tobacco here for you. And it's a great honor that you can be with us for today and have closed the conference for us with some remarks and then a prayer. Thank you very much, Gilbert.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to start off by saying good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Tata nastada to everybody throughout the international realm of Zoom meeting for the constructive environmental. I know it's of international flavor, but at the same time, one thing that's really bothering us, and I want to say to Fabian, I want to thank you for allowing me to speak with the group. I'm very humbled to be able to share a little bit of our insight as the Tsuut'ina, the Dene people. We're of the Dene Nation. And like Fabian had mentioned, we are related to the Dene up north. Actually, it goes into Russia. The Kek people are also Dene people all the way down into South America and the United States as it's known today. So as part of that, though, I would like to start off by saying that I want to acknowledge each and every one of you that have participated so far. And it's really important from the view of the children of nature. The children of nature are the people who have accepted the responsibility through the creation of humanity itself. We have then in turn become the stewards of that. And how we share that knowledge is up to us to make sure that we follow through with that knowledge that we receive. It is not for us to play with, because we have a future, a responsibility of the present for the things that may have been done in the past that have been detrimental. So just kind of give you a little bit of how we look at things. And I've also, throughout North America, or else any indigenous people who have been accepted that responsibility as children of nature, have a responsibility to humanity. But also humanity has to listen to what it is that we are sharing, because we've become our own worst enemies in many ways by some of our greed, is one huge one. We think we deserve things. We feel entitled in certain ways. And because of that entitlement, we've been neglectful to our responsibilities, and that's our future. And what is our future? Our children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, but also the natural laws. The natural laws that are out there, we as man cannot change it. It is what it is. A fire is a fire. You cannot change the fire. But you can make it do other things, but you cannot change the component of it. The air is the air. You cannot change that component. The water is the water. You cannot change that component. And the earth is what we've been given to steward. And how do we do that? By showing our humbleness, our gratitude to the appreciation of our ability to be able to see the beauty of creation itself. Some of you see different areas of the world. I can explain my world here. But even though we're all in the same world, the same area, sharing the same one, everywhere else we may explain it, but yet it may be different. So I would want to encourage you to continue to talk with your government departments, to let them know that the laws, the rules, regulations, those that are of man-made are always a living document. They can be changed, because if we don't, when I was a child, they used to say there is tough times coming ahead. This was back in the 70s. And we often wondered, what is that he is talking about? Tough times. Everything's good here. We're all playing around. We're eating whatever we want. We're doing everything without any real care. But part of it, we're told, you will see some of it. And some of it we have seen. So COVID is not a new thing, but it is new to us because it's during our time, our era. It is during the time of change. And I think part of what you've been looking at is Anthropocene. As part of that, how do we deal with that? So COVID has given us a chance to reflect back on how we address the future. And I believe that with the people that are on this call and the people who are wanting to make positive change, and if they do things, they got to make sure that the land and Mother Nature, as some people call it, have the ability to absorb it properly without it being an eyesore or a detriment to the water or the air or the earth. So when things are being made environmentally, they got to be having that thought in mind. So when we look at how we view things, we always view it as we leave it the way we found it. We may use some things, but we've always left everything. So when anthropologists and archaeologists and all the people who are trying to find out more through the scientific things that were done in the past, we also got to take a look at, if they're going to be looking at the past, how are they going to implement anything of the past in the future? Because each and every one of us are part of that past. Our DNA tells us that. So how are we going to address it in a positive light? And I really believe that there is enough intellect out there And there's always been things that we've appreciated. And that's from the beginning, from plant life, the soil, everything that has an existence. Those are some things that we want to make sure that are done. So my Indian name is Sizaata Klata He Mizaata. And what that means is my name is child of everything. That's what my name is. And what that to me represents is to be able to make sure that every child has an opportunity to have a full life, a proper life, to be able to enjoy. And so when I talk to people, I talk them to with the knowledge that I've received. So throughout the world, we all have our own perspective on how things are going to benefit or not benefit. But at the end of the day, we got to make sure that we look to make sure that the future also benefits from the decisions that we make. And as part of that, I often wondered a lot of what the old people, when I say the old people, I say, Zanago, halakua, halakua saka. The people that had carried the knowledge before transferring to my parents, my grandparents, and to myself. And how we would say that in Sutin, klata he, klata titiyaha. And what that means in Sutina, it means that everything is connected from the universe, from the stars, from the creation itself to the earth, and all that allows us to exist. So when you take a look at the four elements, how do we make sure that we continue to thrive? Animals, plant life, water life, the winged life, the birds, and the ones that are in the ground, the four-legged and the two-legged. They are all part of and affected by how we make decisions. We may have cut off a lot of their natural habitat, and how do we make sure that that's going to be of their benefit, because everything is connected. If we create an unbalance, then we're going to put ourselves in a real serious situation that we may not be able to rectify. So COVID has become a warning. Through our prophets, they have explained a number of things. And humanity themselves have always had prophets. Some people have neglected them, whereas us, the Tutina, have held it close to our hearts ever since we've accepted responsibility as a people. And that's why when Columbus, when he got lost, he thought that there's some things there that he could take and everything else, and he did. But because of man's nature, they've neglected a lot of things. And I'm hoping and I pray that all of these things that are being done through the environmental conferences, that they're going to be able to have a good and positive effect. And how you're going to measure that will be something that is necessary, because it's becoming to a point where it's critical. If we don't do anything to make those changes, in a not too far future, COVID is going to look like just a little kid compared to the next sickness that's coming. And it's not fear-mongering. It's the reality that we've created by the neglect of the things that we do, and we've done things to ourselves, other people, that are not very things to be proud of. So I would like to say to each and every one of you that are part of this conference, I encourage you to continue to do something that's going to be positive, to make sure that things are going to be accepted through the earth and everything else, so that way we'll be able to move forward in a promising and good blessing way. So what I'm going to do now, my friend Fabian, is I'm going to say a quick prayer to acknowledge each and every one of you. And with that acknowledgement, I also want you to close your eyes, say a prayer, and think of yourselves as if you're coming from the east, whether it be daylight or night, and see how you'll be able to impact in a positive way everything that is out there, whether you're surrounded by an ocean, by trees, by lakes, by land itself, and how it can be developed in a positive way for the future. Because we are only here for a very brief time. Our body is a temporary tool which allows us to be able to communicate, but also it allows us to appreciate one another as we move forward. So I'll say a quick prayer to acknowledge you and to give strength to each and every one of you, and that your family be protected and guided. Ha nata naskagalage. Tietsinese inakakoneskle. Tietsinese nakakamienese na. Ha nata naskagalage. Tie winaga siteka winetase kunia. I want to thank each and every one of the people who are acknowledging the environment and how they'll be able to be a positive influencer in regards to how today is going to be looked after for tomorrow. My Father, the creator of heaven and earth, protect us, guide us as we move forward in life. For there are so many things that we do not know and understand. But forgive us for some of the things that we may have neglected, but to give us the strength so that way we'll be able to improve upon them. My Father, the creator of heaven and earth, hear my prayers. Watch over the family of the people who are participating, that they will be guided and that they will be protected, and they will be able to receive the messages necessary to be able to advance their good cause. My Father, the creator of heaven and earth, we thank you for everything that you have provided for us, our shelter, the food, air, water, warmth, and of course, the earth that we walk upon. We humbly thank you for everything that you have given us. And we know that we are not human, but we are spirit, experience a human. My Father, the creator of heaven and earth, protect us, guide us, build your love and light around us all. This is a humbly request. I hope. Thank you, Fabian. I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to share and be grateful and continue to show the gratitude throughout my life and the life of my children and grandchildren, and that you receive the blessings necessary to be able to advance everything that you do, and that the family that is dear to your heart is protected, and to each and every one that is out there. See us, Gus, and Yitzane. Oh.
Gus, thank you very much, Gilbert. It's been an honor to have you. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and talking to us. It's great to have that perspective. So with this, I think we're at the end. Thank you all for joining us over these 3 days. I hope you were able to connect to some other scholars and practitioners and artists and whatever you do. That's great. And yeah, and hope to maybe the conversations can go on for a little bit longer online or in your own ways, and then hopefully see you again next year at the 2022 conference that Rosora and her team will host, and the year after with Kevin. So thank you so much. And with this, we'll close the conference 2021 hosted here in Calgary. Thank you all.
See you soon.
Thanks, guys.